Hello, everybody. Hopefully you are at a stage similar to this and you have a playlist cover document with 4 artboards and 4 different color options on a single design spread over those 4 artboards. And you'll notice out of these choices, 3 of them have borders on them already. And actually, I took the border off the first one because I wanted to suggest that as an initial step to getting your illustration, your graphic set up for titling before we say that we're done making this playlist cover. You could try to figure out a different way to incorporate the title onto the graphic, but I highly recommend that you just add a border, and this is the method that I would suggest. I'm going to go ahead and maybe not zoom in all the way on this, but just one level so I can kind of grab things appropriately. I'm going to select everything here on my first artboard, so pull all of the pieces together, and then I'm going to go to Object, Transform, and Scale. And for the artboard, square artboards that we have, I found that 75% scaling, so scaling down to 75%, gives pretty good results in terms of how big a border we're generating and how it feels once the title is put in. So we're not making a copy. We just want to click OK. Hopefully you've got your preview ticked on. You can see that it looks good. Click OK, and then click off in the background, and we're ready to put our title for our playlist down here and also include our name to say that we were the ones who picked out these songs. So now we might be really ready to just go ahead and hit Control-0 so that we're just focused in on this artboard. For me, out of the color options, I decided to go with this one because my playlist has kind of a winter, it's winter season, not really a winter theme to the music necessarily, but there's definitely, it's designed for this end of the year season. So I wanted colors that made me feel like they were appropriate to that time of year. So I went with this option out of these designs. And what we want to do for our title is just come over here to our type tool, and we're going to come down into this bottom border and click to drop in some type. And mine has already chosen type a font that you might not even have. But suppose we just had some kind of normal font in there like Arial. Yours probably has a different default altogether. And probably some different sizes because we have a fairly big document. Yours might have shown up as just like really teeny tiny letters down here, probably as a way to get started and just so that we can see what our fonts look like. It will be nice for us to be at like a 72 point for our font. And hopefully you know what title you want to give to your playlist already, because I think it will be helpful for us as we're choosing a font just to have that title in already. So mine is End of 2020, and you could say, like, you could write playlist into the name, but obviously it's a playlist cover, so kind of goes without saying. So I'm just going to leave mine as End of 2020. Mine is already center aligned. Yours probably is left aligned as a default, which surprisingly makes it look like it's more centered. But I'm going to do center align, and then I'm going to center the type. Oh, if it doesn't do centering the type, when you click that, we can get off on our selection tool instead of the type tool, then come back and just align that to our artboard. So it's right in the middle. And without going back into having a selection, as long as we already have this written out, typed the words that we want to have there, we can make all of the adjustments here without having it like highlighted as a selection type, just because we're selecting the whole thing. So I'd encourage you to come in through here and look at various different options. Think about the style of the graphic that you created and what goes with it. To me, even though there might be a lot of situations where I would like a script text or a script font, I just don't feel like it fits very well with the geometric style of the graphic that I created here. So I might mostly be looking for a font like this, right? So sometimes you pick a font and you notice really interesting things. Like these didn't all used to be capital letters, but that might give you a clue to what unicase means here. So this is a font that everything is in caps. So that might be appropriate to you. Another thing that you have to decide between, and maybe I'll stick on this one and we'll zoom in a little bit. This is a serif font. A serif font means that all of kind of the little ends of the letters and numbers have these little pieces to them, and it looks really normal, right? Sometimes we don't even think about it, but it is a stylistic choice. Not all fonts have that aspect to them, right? And actually, personally for me, and when it comes to matching up with this graphic, I would prefer to have a sans serif. That's fancy for without a serif. And so I'm actually going to come back up here to this one, which is what I started with. I picked this out for my playlist covers already before, and I still like it even after comparing it with a lot of different options. It's called Minerva Modern. You might have to see if you can get into Adobe Fonts online to look for that one. I don't think it's in Illustrator as a default font, but I'm sure there are things that are like it. So from here, just for the sake of ease, I'm going to hit Alt and Shift and drag straight down for a second line of text. Obviously in this one, I'm going to want some different words. I'm also going to want a different size. I think I'm going to go down to size 48 font. I want to use the same font as before, so that might be the only change I need to make. And then I'm going to double click in here, select all of this and say curated by me. And then hit Control-0 to kind of get an idea of how this spacing is working. And I think I'd like my two lines of text to be a little bit closer together. So I'm going to just select this one and I'm going to hit the up arrow a few times to get it kind of just tucked in there a little bit closer. Then I don't really want it to be kind of heavily weighted towards the top of this border. So I'm going to select them both and then just down arrow back towards the middle of the border a little bit. Other things to consider here would be like the possibility of trying to get these two lines of text to kind of line up with each other horizontally. And I don't know if that's important to me or not, but it might be worth a try coming in here and just adjusting this kind of horizontal spacing between letters to be quite a bit more than it usually is. So it looks like somewhere between 100 and 200 for this maybe like 120, maybe a little bit more than that, 130. 150. Maybe slightly too far. Should have just gone with 140 in the first place. Okay, so yeah, then kind of check in on the readability of this line. Did adding that kind of big amount of spacing in between letters affect the readability at all? Is it hard to tell what it's saying? And I think not. I kind of like it like that. And so I would say that I'm done here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit File, Save. Oh, one more thing worth noting was that obviously we have control of the color of this type that we're adding. And at first, I would have said I really didn't think I was going to like a black font if I don't have any black in my design. And maybe I would have tended towards a blue color that we have in here instead. Actually, I kind of am feeling all right about the black now that I see it in there. It's simple. And so, yeah, after it's saved, we're going to go ahead and export this as a JPEG. So we're going to go to File, Export, Export As. Make sure we're selecting JPEG, make sure we're in a folder that we recognize. This is my folder for examples. Click to use artboards because we don't want to export every graphic that we have here. And then we're not going to export all of them, only the first one. So click on range and set the range to just be 1. And then go ahead and click export. Screen resolution is fine because this was a big document to begin with. High quality. It's kind of a hard choice here between type optimized and art optimized, but we care more about having our graphic look good than we do about the little letters that are down there at the bottom anyway. So let's go ahead and go with art optimized. Click OK. It's already there. Do I want to replace it? No, I guess I'm going to have to run through that again. So if this happens, then you just have to be a little bit more careful as you come through. Here I'm going to change this, I guess, to end of 2020 instead of V1. Still use artboards, just the range of 1. Click export, click OK. I left it as type optimized that time, but it's not going to be the end of the world. Then we're ready to go find our slides and load that image that we have into our slides. And that will be our last step in the project. You're welcome to, if you want, to also include like a screenshot of where you have actually used your playlist cover on a playlist that you created on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere else that you like to create playlists. And that'll be it for us. So good work, and I look forward to seeing everybody's finished product.